You said 300K and you were still living in...
My parents' bedroom.
I love that, by the way.
I made like 190,000 euros in a day.
How much of it was organic? How much ad spend did you have?
Yeah, so ad spend was only 3,000 euros.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. It was great. Ad spend
For the entire campaign?
Yeah, and I don't even use the word work. I hate the word work. Like, I don't want to work. Like, I want to build my dream life, you know? Like, and then the actions.
I love that. I don't want to work. I want to build my dream life.
Yeah. I will finally now surrender to God and the universe when I stop this business that prints money for me and I step into the unknown. Like, this is the end of it. So I was like, with this decision, that will be the end. So then I was like, done.
You invested 65,000 euros into Alex Hormozi, into a program. Tell us a bit about that and tell us about what you learned from it.
So the most important thing I learned from him was...
Episode.
Yeah, perfect. Keep it in.
Selamat pagi, Axel Skura next year.
Okay, terima kasih. Have a beautiful day. That was perfect. Okay, Kevin. Yeah, we need that. Or maybe you. It's so good to have you here. I've got to keep calling you Misha because Natalie, your girlfriend, who's been here on the show, she's like, yeah, my boyfriend Misha, and she mentioned your name so many times that into my brain it's like it's Misha, but then actually your name is
Michel officially.
Michel, but she can't pronounce it.
Yeah, you can just say Misha. It's fine.
Okay, I love the name Misha because in Russian, I have a Russian background. If your name is Michael, people call you just Misha. So my stepbrother his name is Michael, but everybody calls him Misha. So feels very, very aligned. It's good to have you here. I'm so excited because we already had so many podcasts, but not online or not being recorded. Because when we were in Cape Town, we had a lot of great conversations. I learned so much. I actually implemented things that I learned from you immediately. You gave me, for example, this idea of when you have a webinar, to ask at the end of the webinar, hey, why didn't you book a call yet? And then work through the objections. So the next time I had a webinar, I immediately did that. And it actually did work.
Yeah, right.
And it was also so nice to just hear the reasons. I don't know how it is for others, but especially when I started my business, it was like terrifying to ask for feedback. But you just... explain it from a perspective of like, just ask and see what are the reasons and then just work through the reasons. It's nothing personal. And I'm like, yeah, I did that and it did really work. So thank you for that.
Of course, man. I also implemented your tip of starting like a luxury hotel review YouTube channel. I made now the first video here with Natalie in Ubud in 4 seasons there.
Sweet. Yeah, those of you who don't know Misha, he loves hotels. Maybe we get 5 or 10 minutes to talk about hotels because people ask all the time, like where to stay, especially here in Bali. But let's maybe start with your beginnings, because you have an incredible journey behind you. If we get a bit of context about where you're from, and I always like to ask if I would have been a fly on the wall where you grew up, what would my experience be like?
That's a great question. So completely from how I grew up from zero, or like from a certain age?
The moment you turned from white fluid into a human being. No, pick whatever comes up. You know, some people go back to like when they're 5 years old. Some people go when they were a teenager. But like a phase of your life, of your childhood that was defining you.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Netherlands, in the eastern side of the Netherlands, very close to the German border, actually. There, in the first 12 years, it was an amazing time for me. I was playing a lot. I was laughing. I was playing football, soccer. I really loved it. I was playing games outside. Just an amazing time. Then when I was 12 and I moved to the next school in the Netherlands, in Germany it's called a bit different, these schools. Always when Natalie talks about schools and grades, I'm like, I really don't know what it is, so I just say the ages. So when I was 12, I went to the different school and to a different football club. And there I experienced then that I was more bullied. So yeah, when I was younger, usually how I was as a guy, I was like pretty structured. I always loved to play like board games. One time, a very good friend of me is like a purpose coach. He helped people to find his purpose for 18 years straight. And he could at a certain point do it in like an hour. So one time I was sitting with him in a session because we were here in Bali. And I was like, can you help me find my purpose? And many things he asked were related to the past. Like, hey, how were you as a child in the past? What did you really like? What was really always the things you did? And so how I was as a child is that I really love to play strategic games. I really love to play like living strategio. I don't know how it's called. It's like where you have to catch and some people, and then you have like these special identities. Or I also love to play Monopoly. I at football I always love
What
to
about
be
Sims?
Sims. I know. I didn't play Sims. No. And in football, I always love to be the central midfielder that decides the game.
Yeah.
You know. So I was really, the one that really loved to make the plans, the one that loved to, do that. Also, I was very empathetic. I would say I was I wanted my own space. I could more easily be overstimulated. And still, I like my own space. I like to have quiet. Also on holidays or when I'm in hotels, I like my quiet. But that's how I was, and I was playing. I was also a bit competitive.
Yeah.
So that's how I was, and then at high school or the second school when I was 12, when I got there, like these things I felt weren't really rewarded. That's why I developed some insecurities, because in social life, for example, then it's not so much like at that period in my life, like you wanted to be more social, you wanted to be more outgoing, and then being overstimulated more fast was like not so nice, because I couldn't really in the busiest settings or clubs, I wasn't really the most
Your strategy skills weren't that appreciated then.
Exactly, yeah. and that's the period when I developed a lot of insecurities, where I felt like I didn't really belong anywhere. I had some friends, but I felt I didn't really have a deep connection with one of them. I wasn't happy at that time. I became very insecure also from the moment I was 12, I think, to the moment I was around 18. That was really not a nice, like I did some nice things in that time. I was having friends, I went out, but I just wasn't really happy then. And then also one thing is because it was actually a skill. I talked about it with Natalie one time. Actually, also in school, I was very smart. I did the highest level of school in the Netherlands. But like I had like one specific skill. Some teachers really hated me for it. They really hated me. And it's actually the skill that now that was the whole reason why I could grow my business later.
Interesting.
And what was that skill? So I had a bit of, in school time, I had a bit that overstimulation that I could be more fast at, and that was not so nice. But also one thing with school, I was always like, I could really look at, okay, what are actually the things that make sure I get to the next level in school?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, actually the only thing I need to do is just need to get 6s and 7s, And what do I need to do to get 6s and 7s? Just learn a few days before the test week is there. And for the rest, I don't have to do anything because there was no upside for me in getting higher grades than a 6 or a 7 because I didn't get any benefits from it, And then I was, also, I didn't feel so well. I was a bit insecure. I wasn't so at ease at school. So then very often I just, also because I didn't feel so well, but I called myself sick rather fast. So then also that caused that I was, for example, in the last year at school when I was like 17, 18, I was like sick for eight real school weeks. It was like insanely high. So teachers really, really didn't like me for that. So I also always was like, hey, what are actually the things that make sure that I get them done, get it done.
And it's also interesting because I have the same thing. How did you frame it? You said the thing you were most hated for at school turned out to be one of the biggest gifts later in life and in business. For me, it was I used to be not the best student because all I cared about was playing football. and I wanted to become a professional football player. When I was a kid, I was like, what the heck are you talking about? School and stuff. I don't need school. I'm going to become a professional football player. What are you talking about? But then in Germany, we have those, we call it blaue Briefe, which translates to blue letters. They're not blue, but they're basically letters from school saying that you're failing in certain subjects. So I remember coming home and I got in almost every main subject. I was failing. And then my father said, until you become at least a C student in every of those subjects, you are not allowed to play football anymore. And I was like, oh, fuck. But what happened was the next, like I spent probably a day or two crying. And then I went back to school. I'm like, I have no choice. You know, there is no point in discussing with my father. There is like, he says it is what it is. You cannot fight it. You cannot argue. There's no time for that. So I'm like, okay, let me become a good student. And then, similar to you, I asked myself like, okay, how do you actually get those grades? Like, what are they doing? And I looked at the students who were, A, B students. And I'm like, some of the things are so fucking easy. They just raise their hands all the time and ask questions. And they get better grades for that? Like, every idiot can do that. Because I always thought they just made smarter than me. But it turned out not to be true. And then I'm like, I just asked them, like, what do you do? And they're like, well, usually I study the pages for the next day, one day in advance. So I know the answers already. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah. So I started doing that as well. At the end of the year, true story, I was top 3 of the best students in class from one of the worst. And I didn't all of a sudden became more intelligent. All I did was I understood what are the patterns really to get good grades. And what I want to say is that skill, pattern recognition, later in life, right now, helped me so much. And the same is true to also, I've noticed that at the beginning of the school year, especially if you have a new teacher, the first impression really matters. Once you have a first good impression, because a teacher has so many students, they're like, oh, good student, that's the rebellious student. So I'm like, I'm gonna nail that part. And especially later when I did in German, it's like it's different school systems everywhere, but you have you finish your around that age when you're like 17, 18, right? You go to then qualify for university. There at the beginning, I was like the best, preparing, asking so many questions, and then in the brains of the teachers, are like, oh, that's the good student, and they would even like start telling stories to each other. And then later on, I was like, "Fuck!" Sometimes I wouldn't come, or I could relax, and they wouldn't even like take me if I would raise my hands. And there are 7 other people, they take the people who usually don't raise their hands, right? So sometimes I would just raise my hand. I had no idea what I was about to say, but okay, you can relate.
This one I didn't come up with. It's also an excellent finding. Yeah.
Yeah. So then. How did you decide to start your own business? What was like the initiator, especially if you're saying you were a great student?
Yeah. So at that period, I start to feel really lazy, because that's how people framed me at that time. That I was just really lazy, that I wanted to do the bare minimum, and also I started to believe that about myself. So at that period in time, I started to frame myself as like a lazy, insecure, sensitive guy, and I talked to myself like that for almost 3 years, and that really caused that I could have some mental depressive thoughts for
like what?
What's it like? This life is not for me. I'm not the guy who has like great friends or a great girlfriend or great business success or like what do I all do it for? Like people don't like me. Like these, or I cannot do that. Like really, really downgrading myself. It was really a negative spiral loop.
Yeah.
At that time, there was also COVID. So my study at university, I finished high school, and then at university, I first did my first study, economics. Then I stopped with that after 3 months because also I really didn't like it. And back then I told myself like, hey, I stopped with it because I'm lazy. I couldn't finish it. After all, it's not true. But that's what I said then. Then the year later, I wanted to do like another study, psychology, but also that one I stopped after 2 weeks. Also again because I told myself like, hey, I'm lazy, I cannot finish this.
Yeah.
Just before I stopped my study in psychology, a few months before that, I wanted to start like a marketing agency. I saw like on YouTube that some people were having a marketing agency, so I bought their course for like €1,000. I tried it, but then also after a few months I stopped because I didn't like it. So then at that point when I stopped my second study, psychology, I was really, my dad is from Egypt, and he came to the Netherlands especially to give his kids the great opportunities in the Western world that weren't there in Egypt.
Yeah.
So he was like so angry. He was so angry. Yeah, I called him. He was really angry. And at that point, I was like in my room in Utrecht, which is like a city in the Netherlands where I studied, and I was crying. And then I made a picture. It's also on my Instagram right now, where I was crying super hard. And I was like, now you're gonna make something out of your life. And at that moment, from that day, I started to really. It was end September 2021, so almost 5 years ago now. And before that, I was not. I was having I talked depressively to myself. I was having nothing done. Like full of acne, no business, no like nothing, you know. And at that point, I really started to work, on my businesses. So then I thought, okay, I studied psychology. My reasoning for that I didn't finish the marketing agency or continue with that was because I didn't like it. I thought I will follow my passion. And also in these years, my worst moment of the thoughts were like 2 years before. And I started to do personal development a little bit. I started reading some books. I started reflecting a little bit. So I thought like, maybe I just help other guys who are really at their lowest point to get like a little bit better because I'm like a few steps ahead. And then I help them with that. So then I wanted to launch that a bit coaching business, like for these guys. And for that, I studied like a lot of marketing courses because I wanted to. So I made a sales page for myself. I made a homepage. I made like email funnels. I made like ads. It all never went live. Never went live. But I learned that they were pretty good. I think still that they were pretty good. And then I did that for 5 months. I never went live with them. But also in these 5 months, like one time I was following a health coach. And he said on his Instagram, I'm looking for a appointment setter. So I applied, and I thought it was like a sales rep, someone that did the calls.
Yeah.
So I was with him on the call, and he said like, the DMs. I was like, oh, DMs? No, I don't want. I thought it was these calls, I don't want to do the DMs. But then also I gave him like, because I was so deep in his funnels too, because I followed him and I had all the knowledge about my own funnels. I just gave him some tips, I said like, hey, I'm in these. I had all these marketing courses. I'm in your funnels. I saw these 8 things. I thought I just shared with you. And he was like, oh, that's actually very nice. Like, do you offer also like a marketing coaching service or something for this? And I was like, no, but I thought like some money on the side. Why not? I make no money, So I was like, why don't can I not do it like for €25 per hour? I just help you with your marketing. He said like, done. He said like 3 months, €600. I said, can I do 3 months in one time? I said like, sure. I was like, done. And then I had like my first marketing coaching client. And then crazy enough, that guy got results from my tips, and like so he literally got like a few clients from my tips, and he had like 5K clients, so that he made like 15K back from it, like in the first 2 months.
That's a good return.
It were not so groundbreaking tips, It was just like some funnel optimizations, and then but he said like, from this optimizations now through that funnel, some people booked 10 calls, and I closed like 3 of them. So it was not fully me, but at least I had some trust in myself, where I was like, hey, okay, this is nice. So then he made a video testimonial for me, and more people came to me. They also made video testimony. I was like so lucky with the first clients I got. The first client was this amazing health coach. Later, I also became the client of him that was with him for the longest. I bought like his health coaching program 5 times in a row. I was like 2.5 years with him. And then the second client I got was a sales coach, and he became later my sales rep. And the third client I got was like a Google Ads agency owner, and later he became my appointment setter. So I really had like amazing first clients. Then I did a bit of marketing coaching, did a bit of funnel building later. So I built like for other people, I I typed in their email funnels, their opt-in pages where people could leave their email address. It was going better with me. I had some clients, some results. But then at a certain point, I started to become very burnt out because I had like this agency with funnels and I had to do a lot of the work myself, you know. So I was like, I was a bit sensitive to stress in that period. Maybe because of my self-talk, maybe because of something else. But I was really so overwhelmed. And all the money I made also went back into business coaches. So actually I worked then 10 months of my life, like 40, 60 hours a week. And then putting everything in, but then I ended up burned out and with the same money as before. So I was like, what is this, you know? And then I was again like having a moment where I was like, you know, should I just stop with the business? Should I stop with the business? Then one time later, I was like, you know, these funnels cost me a lot of effort, but I also have all these reviews for like marketing coaching, where I just help people a bit with their social media, you know? I was like, can I not do that? So then I launched that. So I was first wanted to stop with the business. And then 1 month later, I launched with a launch strategy that I took from another guy I followed, my social media one-on-one coaching program for 1,500 euros with like a 14-day money back guarantee if you're not satisfied. And then I got like 8 clients in that launch. So I had like my first 10K month after that. And I was like, wow, that's cool, you know, like this works. I did that for a few months, also invested all that money back into the business. And then for a few months after each other, I made like 10, 20K with social media consulting for like 5 months. And then I wanted to make a course out of it because I was like, you know, now I do all these one-on-one coaching calls, but let's make it into a course because then I can scale more. But then when I made it into a course, for 2 months straight, I didn't got any clients. And then again, I was almost sabotaging myself so hard. God really helped me through this. And at that point I was like, you know, now I made 4 months in a row or 5 months in a row, like 10K, 5K, 20K. But still I have the exact same money in my bank account as 5 months ago when I was burned out and 10 months before when I started working. I was like, what am I doing? You know, I was like, how is this possible? So then I thought, okay, I had these clients, I had this course. And back then also how I got these clients for social media coaching was I thought my clients would be on Instagram. It were mainly coaches, agencies. So I just posted my posts on Instagram. But then also I just copied the exact same post that I posted on Instagram and I posted it on Facebook and LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, all my posts were having like pretty high impressions. But back then I just didn't know it meant anything, you know? LinkedIn had like always 3K, 5K, 10K impressions. And of these clients that I had then, some of them came, like half of them or 60% of them came through LinkedIn. So more and more people started asking me about LinkedIn. And at the end of that period, when I made like these 10K months before I made 2 months nothing, one of my best friends right now, his name is Michel. He sent me a message like, hey, I hear you're doing great on LinkedIn. Can you help me with that? And he already made like over 10 million in sales with it. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can help you. I got him as a client, gave him a very big discount. And then I helped him. And, you know, at that point in these 2 months, I was like, you know, maybe I just stop this business because I don't make any profit with it. Everything goes back into the business. Why don't I just become again a sales rep? Why don't I become a sales rep? That just because I know now how to do the calls and I can do that for people and make at least like 8K without any costs. So then I wanted to stop the business. Mitchell was still my client. I said like, hey, you know, you can have my appointment setter. You can have my team members. I will stop this business. And then I applied as a sales rep to a few different coaches. And in these 2 weeks, I had like some calls, but then they all just ghosted me. So they all ghosted me. I was like, even one woman I was with in the it was just a businesswoman in the Netherlands I applied for. I already knew her. We had like an amazing connection and she just ghosted me. So it was like later she 2 years later she said like, you know, we have an interesting history, but actually can I buy your LinkedIn program now? So that's like that's later. So then they just ghosted me. And then I was like, okay, maybe this is the hard part about being a sales rep, not getting a job. I was like, let me then just continue with this coaching business. So then I finished the course. And in that time, I grew very fast on LinkedIn. I grew like from 5,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 to 15,000. Like the followers really went fast. And then in the month after, I got like 2 5K clients for helping them with LinkedIn. And then for the first time, I launched because I was like having a conversation with Mitchell, who's now my best friend. He was a client. He said like, I said, can I ask you maybe a question? Because he was buying my service and he was way further in business than me. He's like, I'm really doubting if I should stop with this business or I should continue and focus on LinkedIn. He said like, Michel, if I would be you, I would go all in on LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, if he says it, he made more than 10 million, he's way further than me. I was like, let's try it. So then I wanted to stop with the business. And then 2 months later, I finished the course. I kept posting on LinkedIn. And I launched for the first time my program later called LinkedIn Leaders. And in that launch, in just 1 month, I made like 40,000 euros in that launch.
Wow.
And that for me then was like, okay, holy shit, I was like, I have something here. So that is how I started that was my first real, like how I got to know LinkedIn consulting.
Yeah.
I did that for a few months. And, before that, in this periods before, all the money I invested went into coaching. So all the money I made with these 10K, 8K, the whole 2 years, I invested all back into business coaches, health coaches, personal coaches, mindset coaches. So they got all that revenue. But then for the first time when I made it 40K, I had like 25K profit. I was like, wow. And then in the month after it, I made 30K again. I had like 20K profit. I was like, wow. So then what I decided, I had like 2 times pretty good revenue, 40K, 30K. In May, I was like, I'm going to bring this to the next level. Let me scale to 100K per month. So what I did was I took almost all the profit that I made like in these months before, and I invested it in the beginning of May into a 20K mastermind of like another business coach. Now later also he became a LinkedIn client of me. And then May turned out to be a very bad month. I made only like 15K in revenue then, but I had like 45K in costs because of that. So that actually all the money I made again from May or the 2 months before that I actually made was all gone again. And it was like, now I had these team members, I had multiple clients that paid me 5,000 euros. It was like, I was so overwhelmed, so stressed. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, why can I not make any, why can I not just keep any money on my bank account, And I was so frustrated. And then in May, what I did, I had that business coach where I invested 20K in. And he had then at a certain point a role open for a YouTube content manager. I was like, why am I not gonna do this? Like I made no money from this for all these responsibilities, all of this. I was like, maybe the coaching business is just like a thing where you make money and then invest it all back into coaches, and the ones on top keep getting all the money, and I leave with nothing, So then I applied for that job, had like an amazing application. I spoke to guys, like it was the team of Andrew Kirby I talked to. So Andrew, maybe you know him, he works for Hormozy too. Like guys that now work for Hormozy and Sam Offens, I talked to get hired for my coach YouTube manager. And then I did this amazing application and I had like another call scheduled with them. And then the guy said, Misha, I'm really sorry, you did like an amazing application. This was supposed to be the onboarding call, but we found this other YouTube guy that did it for Ali Abdal, and he is just insane. So I'm so sorry. And I was like, fuck, So then I was like, okay, I'm so overwhelmed with all of this, with this team. I was like, let me scale down this business. Let me because I had in the past, I had like just one VA in my team, did like 20K per month, 90% profit. I was like, let me do that. But then one time I still had a launch planned, like a launch in July. It was like a few months later. I was like, in this launch, maybe it's nice that I still have my team, because then I don't have to do all these sales calls myself. I don't have to do the setting, and then after it, I can scale down. That was really my plan. I told my friends, I will scale down. I'm so overwhelmed. And then I did this launch. And also my sales rep just quitted before the launch. And I had like one guy in my team. He helped clients a bit with content. It was a 19-year-old guy, really baby face, So he ended up doing the sales calls. And I was like, why did I even tell him? Or why didn't I even allow him to do the sales calls? Because he just spoke to clients that were 35 to 60, my LinkedIn clients. And then I did that launch. I did the same strategy, but now not for LinkedIn leaders, but for LinkedIn legends. It was like the upsell of it. I did the launch on LinkedIn. And then in that month, in July, we booked like, it was way less calls than first. We had like in total, it was still good calls, but then that guy with that baby face, he ended up closing 50% of all the leads. So it was like, what is happening here? And then in July, I wanted to stop 2 months before, and I wanted to stop almost 3 times, and I didn't do it simply because I didn't got accepted. And in July, I made my first 100K month with the coaching business, with like 70K in profit. And then I was like, okay, and then I was like, okay, let's not scale down anymore. And then I continued with it, kept growing, hired more team members. It was still very tough sometimes. Still also, sometimes the money was lower, the stress was high. But then almost 8 months later, in April, the LinkedIn consulting business, in April 2024, the business hit the first 200K month in cash collected. Then in July, the business hit the first 300K month in cash collected with like 180K in profit. And then from that moment, from July, that launch of the 100K into 2 years later, I made like a lot of money with that business, and I'm so grateful that God helped me and kept me on the path and didn't.
Please tell me you kept some of the money on the
Yeah. No, I kept it. Yeah.
Okay, let me unpack some of the lessons, some of the things that I just heard. So I think number one lesson is do not quit. Just simply do not quit, unless you really feel like you're not enjoying, and it's not coming from. You can quit, and it's coming from the right place. Like quit smoking is probably like something good to quit, but when you have a dream and you just get rejected, don't quit. Keep going. It sounds like some higher power just kept redirecting you to like, go there. This is where you should go. I had a similar story. I also wanted to work for someone as when I started my coaching business. Like, it's tough when you begin. It's tough when you start any business, when you do anything that you have not done before. But at the beginning, I was like, Jesus, how can I make it? How can I survive just doing that? And I'm like, let me just work for someone else on the side while I do that. And I applied as a sales rep for someone. His name is Patrick Reiser and Misha. Have you met Misha?
In the case.
Yeah. I even texted Misha, I want to work for you for free. I remember. I just wanted to learn and be in that bubble, and then applied for jobs. But everywhere I got like rejected. I'm like, fuck it. Until I didn't, and it was actually a guy who was doing the same thing in Germany, LinkedIn consulting. So I was working as a VA for 10 euros per hour there. I was the happiest. I was like 10 euro per hour. I was traveling, I was backpacking. I spent 10 euros per day, sometimes even less. I'm like, if I can keep traveling and I can keep learning, this is amazing. Like, I'm the happiest person alive. I did that and I learned so much. I should have paid him. Like, his course was, his program was 7,000 euros.
Yeah.
I got access to, I just saw what he was doing and how he was doing it. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So number one, don't quit. Number two, I would say is you kept reinvesting into the business. And I see Mr. Beast, he's talking a lot about that. He kept, for a long, long time, he didn't make any money, or he made money and then he reinvested it into the business, into better camera equipment, into better editors, and and you did the same thing. Because it's not that you lose money, or you just invested it into your own, into your own skills. And I love this saying: if you would take all the money away, like from everyone, and people would have to recollect it, the millionaires and billionaires would get the money back pretty quickly. It's because you became that person, right? Like, I could take away all of your money, in a couple of months you would have a lot of money again because you have those skills, right? And then another lesson that I saw is that it's one thing to make more money. It's a whole different thing to also then keep more money or invest more money and have more for yourself. Because if you, I think we all have that to a certain point, like income inflation. And when your income goes up, your spending usually goes up as well. And if you're not thoughtful about that, I think especially as a young adult, it can end up badly. And you can make millions every month and still spend it all. And if you have that habit and nobody is teaching you, or you're not learning, it can end really badly. I mean, there's some celebrities, like Johnny Depp was almost broke. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson, I think he made $1 billion in his life. He left his family with minus. Like, wow. So I think that's a good reminder for everybody. Doesn't matter how much you make. Put a certain amount aside, invest a certain amount. You told me earlier, I know that from you, that you also read a lot, that you feed your mind, that you learn. And there is this one guy, Jim Rohn. Do you know him?
Amazing, yeah.
I love this man. When I was traveling, also when I did certain jobs to just make money on like tomato farms, I worked for DHL. I would listen to his recordings all the time. And he once said, no matter how much money you make, invest 10% of it into growing assets. And I'm so grateful I did that. When I was like 19, 20, around that time, I was like, doesn't matter whether I make 50, 500, 50,000, 10% at least, usually it's even more, go into assets that grow over time so I can use compounding. That is something that I learned from that conversation, like, good reminder to also communicate that.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah, and the thing I didn't saw at that time was that I was actually investing the money into coaching. It wasn't that I lost the money, that it was just a business expense. It was really an investment into my own skill set, into my own like mindset, into my own. So actually all this time I made a lot of profit, but I didn't realize that I just kept investing it back into myself. And it was actually the best investment I could ever make.
Yeah, you invested 65,000 euros into Alex Hormozi, into a program. Tell us a bit about that and tell us about what you learned from it.
Yes. So when my business did like that 300K month in July, I was left with like, also before that it was going great. So I had like a lot of money on my bank account because I was still at that time, I was still living in my parents' sleeping room. So
I love that. I love that.
So I didn't have any lifestyle inflation or anything. I was just spending all that money I made on coaching. And that's how I ended up with it. I didn't spend it on any hotel, nothing, just coaching. And at that point I was like, I had like a lot of money, on my bank account, and I was like, what will I now do with it? And then I made like an analysis that I also learned from Alex Hormozi. And I analyzed, okay, I have so much money on my bank account. Like, where can I put it best to make the most more of it? So I was like, I can put it indeed into ETFs. I did it with a part of it, definitely. I could put it into Bitcoin. I was like, I don't know, it's risky, maybe rewarding. I said maybe times 3, maybe divided by 3. I was like, real estate, I don't know anything about it and I want to keep my focus. But I was like, actually, if I put that 65,000 euros into getting coached by Hormozi, I think in 5 years, I must make it at least back 5 times, maybe even 100 times. So it seemed like logically the best investment I could make. It was like it didn't compare at all to all the other options. So then I did that. I had the phone call with his sales rep and then flew to Las Vegas. I said, let's do it. And what he did for that is that before that I had a call with his team member, 2 calls, and then they analyzed my business, all the important metrics, all questions, everything I thought was a bottleneck. Then with a team of 5, Hormozi and 4 other people in his team, his sales manager, his customer success manager, business development guy, and someone else, they made like a strategy for my business and they really prepared. Then I flew to Las Vegas at the same time with 9 other entrepreneurs, and I was there in a room with Hormozi, and then he explained the prepared strategy to all of us for all our businesses. And we had like around an hour per person where he would share the strategy and then we could ask questions. And that was what I paid it for.
When was it?
You mean what the action points were?
When was it?
It was in August 2024.
2024,
so 1.5 years ago.
1.5 years ago. And would you say you've seen positive return?
I've definitely see a positive return. That business now is stopped, but like so in that way. But I've definitely see a positive return. Yeah, from marketing, from also the tips I implemented from him, from the very important mental models I learned from him. That was the most valuable thing I got out of it. Was I think the mental models I learned from him.
What are mental models?
Mental models are like things on ways how he makes decisions in businesses. So yeah, a few. Are you interested? Which one?
100%. I mean, everybody's like, you just told us you invested 65k into Alex Hormozi. Epic delivery also that you get not just him but his entire team to sit down with you, coach. That you fly to Las Vegas. Yeah, everybody wants to know, like, what the fuck did you learn? Over 50% of you don't get enough vitamin D, which has severe consequences for your mental health, for your bone health. And it's just one of the most simple interventions, one of the most simple supplements that you can take that will increase your mood, your immune system. And it's just a no-brainer. Over 80% of you have suboptimal levels of omega-3, which is one of the easiest ways or easiest things that you can fix to improve your brain and your heart health. That's why I take those supplements on a daily basis, and that is why I partnered up with Watson Nutrition. It is a supplement company that tests all of their products by a third party for heavy metals, for toxins, for PCBs. The supplement industry is a very toxic and horrible industry. I can tell you from experience, I've worked in that industry for years and years and years. And so if you pick a supplement, pick one that is testing for those things that I just mentioned. If you live in Europe, if you live in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, like many of you, and you are looking for a great supplement company, I can highly recommend Watson Nutrition. And with the code Axel, you get 5% off. Those are the supplements that I consume. Those are the supplements that I recommend to my friends, to my family. And so you're part of my family. With the code Axel, you can save 5%. And now let's continue the episode.
So the most important thing I learned from him was that the best entrepreneurs, that they think like investors. And what does that mean? They really look, okay, how much money do I have available now? How much time do I have available? And how much energy do I have available? And also the time in team members, what resources do you have available? And then they see, okay, what are my goals? And then they see, okay, how can I deploy these resources in the most effective way to get me towards my goals? And that is also why I invested over 250,000 euros into coaching. Because I was like, hey, I can leave this money on the bank. I can put it into, that's a prime example. I can leave it on the bank. I can put it all into ETFs. I can put it all into Bitcoin. But I was like, actually, if I put it into a business coach, I make it way back. If I put it into a health coach, I make it way back. Personal coaches, I make it all back. So that's how I also all the time made the decisions to invest so much into coaching, because it keeps growing very hard and it keeps compounding. So also with other actions in business, you can do so many things to grow your business. You have unlimited options to do, unlimited possible tasks, but like limited resources. And that's why he said that the best CEOs are the best people that can allocate the resources towards growing a company. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was like one. Also, one is how he so much focuses on the bottleneck. Hormozi is really like, what is the top priority? And even though all these other things that are urgent, he just only works on the top priority of his business. That's the real needle mover of his business. So that was a really, really big.
What do you think are the needle movers for him?
Like, I don't honestly know, because his company is he makes like 300 million in revenue per year or something. So I don't really know what his needle movers are. For him, I just knew that he asked himself one question. And he asked himself the question, that's also what I heard in that meeting of the 65K program. He said, if I could only do one thing in the next years that would make all the other things irrelevant for me, for that I would have always unlimited deal flow, unlimited talent, unlimited opportunities, everything. He said, if I would do one thing, what would it be? And he said, like, it will be to build the biggest business personal brand in the world. So that's what he did.
Yeah, interesting. Because a friend of mine, he asked me this question a couple years ago. We were spending New Year's together, and he asked me the same question. And then I had the same answer, but he also said, okay, if you can only do one thing to 12x your income in the next year, what would you do? And you can only do one thing. And I'm like, well, it would be to run ads. And back then, everything I did was organic. And to every business coach I was talking to everybody in the space, they're like, you make so much money just organic? I'm like, yeah. They're like, why don't you run ads? And I'm like, why don't I run ads? I don't know. I don't know. I just like ignored it. That behavior cost me, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of euros, if not millions. So you did that coaching. You say you have a positive return on invest. To the average person, that will sound ridiculous. Many things you said will sound like, what are you talking about? So you're telling me you are building a business, you make 30K and you invest all of it? Are you nuts? That will be something that will come up for sure. There is this negative narrative about courses in general. I would say online, like, oh, you sell courses. I would love to hear your thoughts on that couple things that I want to unpack. Let's maybe start with this one. I think this one is really, really important because from what you said so far is just like, I invest, I get a positive return. I invest, I get a positive return. I agree. I think there are many people who disagree. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So if you have the model from Hormozy that you purely think, okay, what are my goals and how much resources do I currently have available in time, money, and energy? And if you define energy as your most productive hours in the morning. So for example, I could first, when I started my business, I could only work 2 hours focused. Now I can work 4 hours focused. So then energy available is 4 hours per day in deep work. Then time available is how much time you have available, and money available is how much money you have available. Then you look at your goals. Let's say, for example, for some people, the goals are to make 10K per month and travel the world. From other people, the goals are to make 100K per month and build a team so they can only work like 20 hours a week and be more in the zone of genius. From other people, they really want to go to 1 million per month and really build their dream business or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Then you have to think, okay, how can I put my resources as efficiently as possible to reach that goal? And I think the real big unlock is, one, do deep work, because if you don't do deep work, then I did always in my business, I did like 3 to 4 hours of deep work per day. That's the allocation of your time. Mm-hmm. Then also the second problem is that many people don't do deep work on the right things. They don't work on the right things. So let's say you have 6 days a week on where you work normally in the mornings. And if you wouldn't have a mentor and you would have these goals, maybe 5 of the 6 days, you would do something that is totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. But then if you invest your money into a mentor and he can help you to work 6 out of 6 days on the right priorities, then you will grow so much faster, because you allocate your time and your energy better. And that is the whole thing that is needed to reach your goals. So the whole reason for me why I invested so much into mentors was because I wanted them to look with me on how I allocated my time, energy, and money. And if they are way ahead of me, then probably they could give me some good tips in how I should allocate them versus all deciding that on my own. So if you look at it from that way, I think it's impossible that coaches or mentors are a scam.
Unless they are not delivering what they promise they can deliver.
Of course.
And then I always say, who chose the mentor? Who chose the coaching? Who chose the course? You.
Yeah.
So, and that already, because I have one friend, he invested into, it's actually the same friend who gave me this advice. He invested into an NFT project from a big influencer, and many did that. NFT projects, like the biggest names out there, they did NFT projects. Not everybody, but most of them. And they promised their communities, it's like crypto, it's like Bitcoin. And we know now that most of NFTs went absolutely nowhere, and they all went, not all, but I would say it's fair to say the biggest amount of it, the majority went to zero. And so he put, I think, somewhat of in the ballpark of 100K into it. And he always talks about it as if I lost so much money. And I'm like, That's one perspective. I don't think you lost money. You invested money, right? But you learned a really powerful lesson, which is greed, my friend, will always put you down on your knees. And I quoted Warren Buffett. I'm like, be fearful when others are greedy. That's exactly what I did when I heard about all of those NFTs. Everybody was so greedy. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. Meaning, be careful when everybody's like, oh, this is the thing, you need to jump on it. Like they did when it was NFTs. And the other way around, when everybody is afraid, like during the pandemic, everybody was shitting their pants. Everybody sold their stocks. I knew now it's the time to act. And like the deals I got during that time, I wish I would have been more, greed is the wrong word. You know what I mean? Like active, like big balls. That's what, like during those times you need courage, massive amounts of courage. I wish I would have invested way more in like real estate and stuff, because that, collapsed. But I already put a good amount of my net worth back then into stocks, into ETFs. Like it was like discounted. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. But returning to the point where it's about choosing a mentor, take your power back, and also like this whole narrative about this course is a scam, or this coaching is a scam. I'm like, just choose wisely. And we were talking about it before the episode started. You asked me, how can I become the best paddle player the fastest way possible? I'm like, get a coach, right? And everybody here does that. And when you can, or skiing, good example. Like you can try to teach yourself how to snowboard or how to ski. And you will get there at some point. But of course, if you get someone, a teacher, a coach, who is really good at skiing or snowboarding, of course you get there faster. And guess what? You probably also prevent a lot of injuries from happening. Because they will tell you, hey, you got to be careful of this. Or don't do this. And you're saving yourself so much time. And it's the same thing in business and health and whatever. Just pick people who really walk their talk. Yeah. Who have the result, who have created the results. Like if I pick a mentor, I want to know I want to know your results. And if I want the same results, I'm hiring you and I'm learning from you. And then I've never made a bad investment with a mentor. So have you ever had a bad experience?
No, it was always a positive return, somewhere better than others, but also like always never had not a positive return.
Yeah. Same. And I think it also has to do with the person who goes into the course, the coaching, whatever. I want to pull people out of this victim mindset, like, oh, I bought this course and this. I'm like, okay, but you bought it. Why did you buy it in the first place? I think it's something else when something is like legitimately like a scam in the sense of like how I got scammed in Cape Town.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's me. Either anyway, so I saw this apartment. I put deposit down, and this apartment didn't exist. Well, that's a scam, right? But I also said to because my assistant found that place, and I also said to her, like, hey, we just invested into a life lesson here, which is always double, triple check, because she didn't do that, and I didn't do that. She didn't double and triple check on the guy who was advertising the apartment, and I didn't double check on her. So a thing I always do in business, I didn't do there. Like when we have webinars or something, I have checklists. I'm like, we're going to test this, but we've done it 10 times. I don't care. We're going to test it. Like a pilot. I love that. Like a pilot, testing. And that's the story with investing. Okay, so you went from basically 0 to, you said 300K, and you were still living in
my parents' bedroom.
I love that, by the way. I don't know why there's so much shame when you hear, like, by the way, all the girls listening, if you meet a guy who's still living with his parents, you don't know how much money they make. They might make 300K a month. And you think like, oh, well, but he's living with his parents. I think I love it. If my grandma would still be alive, I think I would have a room in her house. I would buy her a mega mansion and a beautiful house, her dream house, and I would live there because I fucking love her so much. I want to be surrounded by that energy all the time. There's nothing wrong, especially as a young man. Like, Jesus. You want to be surrounded by your family, unless you don't, unless you have a bad relationship, right? But you went from 0 to 300K. You have a really successful business. You make loads of money, and then you decide, I'm gonna quit it. And this time you quit it for good. I think you had a final launch. Maybe we can speak about it later if you want to share some lessons from that. Because you met Natalie and you said, I wanna allocate my time towards her business. Why on earth would you do that?
Good question. Maybe also I forgot to finish the one quick other story, which is that actually later, that the reason why I was so ashamed of myself when I was young, that I was so efficient in everything, that I could really look at, hey, what are the needle movers and allocate my time properly. That was the whole reason why people paid me later on LinkedIn, because I could look like that at them for their business. You know? So that's so interesting. Yeah. And that to start with, why did I choose to stop that business and help Natalie with hers? It was at that point, I had way less joy in the LinkedIn business. I automated like a lot. I only had to work like 5 to 10 hours per week on it, made like 50 to 100K per month in profit of it. But even the 5 to 10 hours per week felt like too much for me. I was so tired. I was so drained, even though I worked 5 to 10 hours per week. And I was like, how is this possible? I was like, because I listened to all the Hormozy videos. So, you know, after 4 years, you have to push through at a certain point. You know, it will not always be fun. I was like, okay, push through. You know, so then for 6 months or so, I really pushed through. I just kept doing the things, even though I wasn't having so much joy in it. But then at a certain point, I was like, how is it? Like, I only work 10 hours in a week on this business, and I'm so hugely tired. It was like so weird for me. At that time, I also met Natalie, and Natalie helped me to get a lot into spirituality, into my relationship with God, into health. So I was reflecting a lot, going more deeper into that. And then I discovered that one of the reasons, or one of the things I was struggling with a lot also in that business, is that, or mainly my patterns were more around fear, shame, guilt, fear, shame, guilt. What was the other one? Lack. These were some people really have the emotions of too much rage, or that they can really flip to team members. I don't have that. For me, it was mostly these things that these emotions were present. And my coping mechanism for that was mainly control. So when I felt fear, guilt, shame, or lack, I wanted to do all my efforts to not feel these emotions and to control the business well, to make sure that my team members could get paid, that clients were happy, that everyone was happy, you know? And then I started to discover that.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah, it's super exhausting.
I know from the past, it's so exhausting.
Insane. And then I learned about all these things. And one of my, my whole spiritual journey, like you have certain things you have to overcome. And one was like control. My main topic was like control, like planning, control. But not for like, it's good to plan. It's good to be strategic, but you can do it out of a good intention of, hey, I'm already good. My life is already very good, and let's just build this amazing business. Yeah. Or it can be like, you know, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be that people are unhappy about me. I don't want to feel guilty or shameful. Yeah. Let's do all this. Like, how can I make sure that just never happens? And then and then that's a really fearful intention. Yeah. So then I kept running the business even. So in May 2025, which is now almost 1 year ago, I booked like my whole team to a trip of Bali, paid on the business. So I invested like 30,000 euros into a team trip in Bali. It was an amazing trip. But already then I was feeling a bit like. Before that, I was feeling like pushing through. But then when the team was here for 2 weeks, we were in this street here, living the life of each other. Then I was feeling so much energy again. But then after they left, I was like, oh man, I really want to stop this business. You know, I really don't have so much joy anymore. So then one time I had like a launch in June, July. It was like 1 month later after the team trip. I was so tired. I was like, I had a webinar. It was in the afternoon here in Bali. It was like 2 or 3 p.m. And I was like, and at one hour before, I still had to make the webinar, but I couldn't find the energy for it. I was like, what is happening, you know? And I was like, God, like what is this? You know, I don't even recognize myself now compared to the last 2 years. And I was like, what should I do? Should I cancel the webinar? I was like, no, what should I do then? And I was like, stop the business. I was like, stop the business. And at first I resisted a little bit when I was reflecting, like 2 hours before that webinar was. I was like, I was like, fuck it, I will stop the business. And then immediately I had a bit of energy. I did the webinar, and one day, or like I reflected on it for 1 or 2 more days during that launch. And then I sent my COO a message, like a voice note, like, hey, I think I want to stop the business. And she replied with a lot of compassion. She was like, I'm very proud of you, because she also felt that I didn't got so much energy from it anymore. And then at that moment when I was really like, in the days before I stopped it, I was really like, okay, my pattern is control. You know, like with this decision, I'm gonna let go of the pattern of control, and I will finally now surrender to God and the universe. When I stop this business that prints money for me, and I step into the unknown, like this is the end of it. So I was like, with this decision, that will be the end. So then I was like, done. and then a few months, so for 3 months after I stopped the business, I was doing a lot of inner work. I was really, because I worked hard also, and like in the last, I had pretty much time to rest, but I was so tired of carrying all these emotions, or all these, I didn't know first I had them, you know, all this shame, guilt, fear, lack, and masking them with action. So I was so tired, or like I really had to process. My responsibility cup was completely over, or like full, you know, I had to empty it. So I did a lot of inner work. And also Natalie really helped me on that journey, you know. So the things she taught me in that half a year, they really changed my life. It was really like, before I was running my business and I had all these things from fear, guilt, shame, tension in my body, brain fog. I had already a lot of health coaches before that were also amazing coaches. They were operating more from the masculine data perspective and doing these things. It was amazing. And she was also more teaching me the feminine, I would call them that way, feminine principles. Like, hey, listening to your body, following your joy, being aligned, feeling through your emotions, overcoming, watching your self-talk with fear, lack, shame, guilt. And I became such a different person. I felt so much more relaxed, fulfilled, at ease, certain, loving, compassionate. Like, she really made me like a better man, you know? It was really like, it was so special for me what it did when I applied her things. And she also helped my mother, who had like cancer, and Natalie helped her too on her journey. And I saw my mother had already cancer 3 times. And I saw how much better my mother felt this time when Natalie was helping her, you know? So then I was really like, you know, I think because Natalie is so good in, and also it was not only me and my mother, but like I'm a business person, you know? I helped over 400 coaches in the last years with LinkedIn and everything. I've seen 400 businesses from the inside, people that ask me their questions, all different niches. I've seen their problems, I've seen their things, you know? And I never, ever had seen someone, of all the people that I helped, that had like 100% client satisfaction rate. That all clients are happy. And I was like, you know, you're even helping mostly people with diseases. Like, how can they all be so happy, you know? And then I was like, okay, I think she really got something here, because it has made so much impact on me and my mother. Her clients are super happy. Let me help scale this, because I can make a lot of impact here. And then it not only is a business that makes a lot of money, but also produces like life-changing results for people. That's how I decided to help her.
Wow. So you just stopped the business, or the business still exists? You hired a CEO to operate your own business, or you just stopped it?
Stopped.
Wow.
Because my the way that we got clients was through my personal LinkedIn account, and I didn't want to talk so much about LinkedIn anymore. Or then someone else would need to post on my LinkedIn account, and I would need to check everything. Or when I wouldn't do that, then sometimes I would post something where I would be like, this I didn't like really the way this is said, or this can be interpreted in this way. In my opinion, that's not so. That's why I was like, let's just stop it. Stop it. That was really like stop it, because I was struggling with all these patterns. So even though I didn't have to work so much time in a week on it, I still felt very drained, and I can work more. I can work way more. I can work all week on another business and feel super energized. So I feel it was really, really simply not aligned anymore.
So it's not the work that causes the stress. It is your interpretation or your feeling surrounded by, not surrounded, but created by what you're doing that causes the stress. Reminds me of this Eckhart Tolle quote. He says, it's not the event that makes it stressful, it's your interpretation of the event that makes it stressful. Because some people think if you work a lot, that causes a lot of stress, which would then only be true if working little causes you stress. But you just said you worked 10 hours per week and you were stressed all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not just the amount of time you're working that causes stress. It's your interpretation. It's also like, how is it aligning with your values? Because if I would be doing the same thing that I'm doing just for unethical brands, if I would help other people, I don't know, build their personal brand who are just into Gucci bags, and I would know those Gucci bags are exploiting animals, I would fucking hate every single second of it. I could not do it for a single second. So that is a really powerful lesson for people to understand. Because there's this whole thing like, if you only work 4 hours per week and you make a lot of money, that's the dream life. No, honey, if you hate those 4 hours.
It was literally like I worked 2 days in a week in these 10 hours. First, it was Monday. I had my team meetings and everything and a Q&A call with clients. In the morning, I did some strategic work. And a bit on Thursday, I had just one Q&A call and a call with my COO. Yeah. And apart from that, I answered a few messages, 10 hours a week. So first, I was like, okay, I really have to get out this Thursday. I just really need to get that Thursday out. It's like, then it's fine. Because what happened then was Monday I did the calls. And then on Tuesday I was like, in 2 days I have these calls again. Oh, sorry, in 2 days. Yeah. And then Thursday it was like, and Friday was nice. And then Saturday and Sunday was like,
on Monday.
It's Monday in 2 days. I was like, if I just get the Thursday out, then I have like 5 days in which I'm relaxed. And then 1 day is like Monday. But then I got the Thursday out. Yeah. And then when Monday was over, I was like, fuck, in 6 months, 6 days. It was literally like that.
It reminds me of school.
It was literally in 6 days, I have to do it again. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like I have like 6 days a week. They're free. Yeah. And I still. Then I was like, okay, this is not gonna work.
I love that. It takes so much courage to even just acknowledge that. I don't know if you've seen the Alex Hormozi, Tony Robbins podcast. I love that so much, both parts. I love the fact that Alex was so incredibly vulnerable, that he was just sharing the truth, that he was not masking it, which he could. I think sometimes he probably even did that in the past. But he was just so incredibly honest, and all the people, like I saw that in the comments, how so many men then just opened up and said, I feel the same thing. I have so much freaking money. It's going so well, but I don't feel that fire. I don't feel fulfilled. And then Tony Robbins, being Tony Robbins, really not holding back and just coaching him. I freaking love that. And I think it's just part of the journey as well. You master like Tony Robbins called it in the podcast, the science of achievement, and then you also afterwards you master, or you get to master. Some people never do that, but the science of fulfillment. For me, and it sounds like it was very similar to you at the beginning. It was all about becoming successful, achieving things. Now like when I tune in with myself in the morning, or people asking me about my goals, I'm like, I want to be happy. I want to enjoy this year. You know, like at the end of the year, I want to say I really enjoyed, because I know, just like you, what it's like to have no money, to have a lot of money, and I know I will always choose having a lot of money because there's a lot of resources, but I know that you can be happy with very little, and you can be happy with a lot. You can be miserable with no money, and you can be miserable with a lot of money. So the most important thing is actually like, how am I doing here, right? And if you can combine both worlds, if you can achieve from a good place and you can be fulfilled, well, that would be the ideal case scenario. But for that, you need to be very, very honest to yourself. And I love the fact that you just said, you know what, I'm gonna quit that successful business. It doesn't make any sense to anybody in business. Like even I had to catch myself, you know, judging you. I'm like, why? The thought that came up was like, why didn't you just hire someone who does your job? Okay. Or then like, why didn't you sell the business?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, but people said the same thing to me when I quit my job. They're like, you're saying no to that, you idiot? But those things are usually the moments that lead to the craziest success stories. And I think also your story and what you shared earlier is when you were in the biggest misery, couple times, it's like a cycle in life. You had this one moment where you were, that picture that you posted, where you were crying in Utrecht. How do you pronounce it?
In the Netherlands, it's Utrecht.
In German, we say Utrecht.
Yeah, Utrecht.
How is it? Utrecht?
Utrecht.
I don't
yeah.
know. But anyways, were you crying in that room, like really dark, heavy fucking moment where you're like, I want to quit. Afterwards, there was a beautiful comeback, like something much, much better than before. And then you have another moment, and it turns out to be even better. And like that's how life is. But I think only if you have the courage to look at yourself and to learn and to make progress, and that's what you did.
Yeah, I have another cool story about that stopping, and what you just said. So I stopped it, and 3 months later, because I was selling like high ticket coaching programs on LinkedIn, and what made me so tired was these responsibilities. I was like, okay, that was one thing, and it just didn't feel aligned anymore. So I decided to stop it, and like the intention was, okay, let go this control. Let it go, and be finally trusting God a little bit more, because it's just a way better way of living. So then for 3 months, I did a lot of inner work. And then I was still in Bali here. And then at one point, I met like a friend here in Bali for paddle. And I saw on Instagram then that it was in November. It was like, so 4 months after I stopped the business. And in that time, in between, I didn't make any money, from anything. And then I saw him do like a specific launch on Instagram. And what it was a goodbye launch, because he was stopping his business too. And he was like on Instagram, and like I saw ads of him like, hey, I'm stopping with this business, and for the last time ever, I'm doing I'm selling all my courses for a big discount, And I saw one guy in the Netherlands before that had
Like a bundle, right?
Yeah, a bundle, yeah. It had like amazing results with that. But it was one of the biggest guys, and that biggest guy made like a lot of millions with that launch. So I asked my friends, I said like, hey, how is this launch working for you? He said like, dude, it's like free money. I was like, what? Free money? I was like, I'm like, hey, do you want to share what you made with this launch, And I will not share the numbers of him publicly, but it was like crazy. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, I stopped my business too, but I never did a launch like this. So like, do you think it will work for me too? He said, yeah, definitely. If you want, we can sit together here, and then we can make a plan for your launch. It's like amazing. So what we then did is I was with that friend with like an amazing launch, like 7-figure launch based on that. We made a plan here, and then it was like, okay, 2 months later in January, I did that launch. So then what I did was the LinkedIn programs that I first sold, then only the courses, so without coaching, I sold them for like a no-brainer price of 197 euros, because that's the launch model, that you basically all the courses you ever had or all the programs, you bundle these courses and sell them for 197 euros. And then I launched them for 5 days, and the message is like, hey, I will stop with this business. I never did a launch like this, so you can still grab all my life's work and information for this crazy price. And then in these 5 days, I was like, what would I be happy with? It's just a course, I never did a course launch. It was like, I always made high ticket sales launches, 200K, 300K. I was like, I would be really happy if I just make 50K with this launch, because I didn't make money for 6 months, they're making money for 6 months. And then, or almost no. And then I was like, 100K would be amazing. And then in that launch, I feel too that was like proof for me that it was really, really the right choice to trust God. In that launch, in just 5 days time, or in the first day, I made like, of a 197 euro course, I made like 45,000 euros with like almost full profit. And I was like, wow. But I was like, this is the first day. And the second day of the 5, I made like 28,000 in revenue. I was like almost all profit. So now 63,000. I was like, now let's see what the week will still do. On the third day, it was 45,000 again. So now I was like at 120,000. Then I was like, wow. And the fourth day, 65,000 extra. It was like 188 or 185,000. And then it was like the last day, I was like, well, I already made way more than I asked for this launch. Let's see. And then the last day, it was my biggest day ever. In that launch of a 197 euro course with no delivery, I made like 190,000 euros in a day.
In a single,
In a
Jesus Christ.
day.
And that was, how much of it was organic? How much ad spend did you have?
Yeah, so ad spend was only 3,000 euros.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. It was great. Ad spend
For
was
the entire campaign?
Yeah, but like most of it was organic. Organic of my own channels of LinkedIn and email was 40%. So in total, the launch was like, and also on Saturday, because many people missed the launch, I did it for 297 and another 30K in sales bought it. So then in total, I made like, in the whole month, because I did like also upsells, I made like 477,000 euros in 1 month, which was like by far my biggest record month. And I would have the same profit if I would have continued with my business for the 7 months that I stopped it. I would have had exactly the same profit as just this one launch.
Wild.
So that was like, to me, like, okay, this was the right move, because
How many LinkedIn followers do you have?
I have 36,000.
36,000?
Yeah, so 40% of the launch, so around, if we simplify it and say 500,000, then 200,000 came off my LinkedIn and email list. 200,000 came off affiliates, so other partners that just sent to their email list or their LinkedIn, like, hey, I know Michel in this way. He stops now. You can buy it here through my link and you get this bonus extra. And 20% came through ads. Yeah, no, ads was like, yeah, around 20% came through ads. Yeah, 20% came to ads. It was a little less. Maybe the split was a little bit different, but this was around the split.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
Wild. And then you combine forces with Natalie, who knows a lot about helping people. But perhaps, I don't know, but she probably knows less about business and marketing and funnels than you. And now you're helping people from a space, or you're helping Natalie, and then at the end also other people with these certain diseases, with manifestation, with their mental health. I would say at the end of the day, like anybody who works in that space is like mostly health, mental health, physical health. How is that for you now? Like, how do you feel energy wise? How do you work more? Do you work less? What is life now?
Amazing question. I enjoy every minute of every day. I feel amazing. It was like right now, lately I had a talk with Natalie, and we were like on a Sunday, we were talking about our plans for the business, and at a certain point she was saying like, like it's also Sunday, I don't want to talk only about work. And I sat with it and I was like, work? I was like, for my feeling, I didn't work anymore in 7 months. And she said like, but what do you mean? You had this whole launch, you're doing some calls, you do this, you do that, like, why not? I said like, but now I'm building my dream life with my dream woman. I'm not working. I'm building my dream life with my dream woman, and that's why.
I love that.
And now I can. What is it? I can work all the time. I don't even use the word work. I hate the word work. Like, I don't want to work. Like, I want to build my dream life. Like and then the actions. Stay
I
the
love
same.
that. I don't want to work. I want to build my dream life.
Yeah. I think we were also thinking, or I was thinking about it. If every person in the world would remove work from their vocabulary and instead start talking in build my dream life,
Yeah.
I think everyone would take radical different actions in their life.
1,000,000%. I just had that conversation 2 days ago with someone who is just starting her brand, and she was like, "I'm broke." I'm like, "Okay." So I need to go back and work and this and that. But she was talking about it from like the most, like I could feel the shame, and I'm like, "What is so shameful about that? What is so bad about that?" And I told her back when I started my brand, when I started working as a personal trainer and stuff, like I had to support myself, but I didn't think about it as bad work or shameful work. And I was working. I'm talking about tomato farms. I'm talking about working at DHL. I was like, I didn't see it as work. I saw it as this is supporting my mission. This is supporting me building my dream life. Not like, oh, poor me has to. No, there's like, fuck this. Like, this is just helping me to go there, you know? And I love the reframe that you just said. It's building your dream life. And then even the things that are maybe not the sexiest tasks in the world become just part of that mission of building your dream life.
Exactly. Sometimes you see these very successful people and they say sometimes, and first I was always like, how am I? I was a bit scared of it. Some people say like, if you want to be successful, you need to really be obsessed, you know? And I could also see that these really obsessed people, that they really would have the success. But I was like, you know, I'm just not so obsessed as them, you know. I want to also do. I don't want to sacrifice everything, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel if you really talk in the terms of building your dream life, then just that will make you obsessed. Because who isn't obsessed with building and living their dream life?
Yeah.
If like automatically you become really obsessed, because who doesn't want to live and build their dream life with their dream woman or dream man?
Yeah.
It's like it has a whole different fire in you, and
Yeah.
every second of every day I enjoy. We're building the business with Natalie. It's just amazing, man. I feel really happy about my choice.
Sweet. I'm very happy for you, because we're talking so much about Alex in this episode, but maybe that's a good thing because he has a massive community of also a lot of young men, and mental health issues and suicide, in particular in men is in many European countries the leading cause of premature death, and that's wild. Like just that statistic, young men die because of mental health issues, and we just keep doing it the same, like this pushing without ever asking like, am I really happy, or what can I do to be happy? What is even my dream life? In that episode with Tony, you could see, I don't believe for 100% that his dream life is really to work every day for 15 hours like a maniac. Like, I don't feel fire. Like, where's your freaking fire? You know, it's like, yeah, you're incredibly good and incredibly passionate about, but are you really fulfilled? I don't know. And he also loves those quotes from Marcus Aurelius and stuff, and the whole, I love the conversation that people have around, you know, one day you're going to die, and you can't take your possessions with you into the next life. Like, that won't work. You can't take your money into the next life. You can build, you know, wealth and like pass it on to people, but in a couple of generations, people will even forget who the fuck you were. So wouldn't it be more important to actually like right now enjoy and live a little? And I see way too many people just they're filling this gap that you were describing earlier. The gap of actually like, I'm afraid of feeling certain feelings, so I'm gonna control everything. I'm afraid of not being good enough, so I'm gonna overperform like there is no tomorrow, so that I'm enough. And that can lead to outward, success in the outer world. But in the inner world, it takes a bit more to it. Because you can have like super successful client stories and stuff and still feel like shit. You can have, all the money in the world and still feel internally broke. So, fuck, I have so much respect for you and what you did.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
And I'm also very happy that you're supporting, and I don't know how your path is evolving, but I'm really excited to see. I'm very happy that you help people like Natalie, who have an important mission, who are actually doing something really profound and meaningful. And you mentioned a client success rate, client happiness rate of 100%. That is just wild. But and that was something like diseases. That's just outstanding. That someone even has like Natalie, the guts and the courage to work with people who are going through such hard, difficult times. Like that takes a lot of courage. So I love that you support her, and maybe even in the future, other people doing similar things. Everybody who, and I have a lot of people here, obviously, because of my story, who are going through tough times or going through hardship. Can they still work with you guys?
Yeah,
Or
they can still work with us, absolutely. And we also have a lot of free content, a lot of free long podcasts in which our intention also with our content is to really help people as much as possible. So they can for sure go to Natalie, her Instagram, request the podcast, because we also have podcasts that we have like 10 hours of podcasts full of value that they can already watch.
Yeah, I'll put it in. We'll put it into the show notes.
Yeah. So they can all watch that, and we hope to impact them a lot. And that's also why I do the business with Natalie now. Indeed, it's not only about money for me. It's like I had such a beautiful transformation because of the things she taught me, and also my mother, and like it's just so meaningful to help. So that's why also we put all the knowledge for free in the podcast so they can watch it.
I love that. Money seems like is now a byproduct, and I think that's how it should be. Epic conversation. I incredibly grateful that you were sharing so vulnerably. I think it's going to help a lot of men and a lot of women with the business kind of side, you know. And one thing that that might be is the end of the episode. One thing that I see in you is you were not afraid to make mistakes. You made fast decisions and took a lot of risk. And I always say the universe rewards the bold. And that's how you just learn so much faster than everybody else. When you make a decision, even if it's the wrong decision, at least you made a decision, and you now have feedback, and you can, learn and evolve. And I learned a lot. Thank you so much for your time, Michel. And I'm curious to follow your journey.
Thank you, man.
It sounds very eventful. Many things are happening, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much too, and also for the invitation, for the great conversation, and for asking the great questions. It was an amazing podcast. So also very grateful that I could be here.
Thank you, Roland. All right, if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoy listening to this podcast and you want to help us grow, you want to help us get access to the brightest minds on planet Earth, then you can do a very simple thing. It takes 2.5 seconds. It gives us a lot of happiness. The simple thing is to leave a review for this podcast wherever you listen to this podcast, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. It just means the world. I read all of the reviews if you want to write something nice. But right now, if you're enjoying this show, leave a review, and that's that. Until next time, my friend.